Jörg were coming together. This is like a reunion because, of course, we all remember the Flying Lizards and how these guys so dominated ALMS with the Flying Lizards. What a dynamic duo they were together with their driving skills. And Patrick, I gained all due respect for it because if you watch the tractor races, he was out there to win yesterday. He was.
I'm a closet redneck.
He said he's a closet redneck. So Jörg, did you get a chance to drive the tractors, or today maybe?
No, unfortunately not, but I pretty much imported the tractor for Patrick. It's originally from Germany, so just got it last year, right?
Yeah.
So we were also watching on TV, we had the from the factory drivers, the RSR drivers, and they wanted to hold off the discussion for about 20 minutes because they wanted to watch you race. And you were leading the, I think the flock group, the race.
Yeah, Group 7, the more current cars. I'm lucky enough to drive actually Wolf Hensler's and Brian Seller's car, 2012 Falcon RSR, starting from pole today, so I'm having fun.
What's more fun? The newer cars, the older cars? Is when you get reacquainted with the old RSR, is it everything you remembered?
Well, I've never really raced the RSR on Falcon tires, but I have to say it works pretty well. And lap time wise, there's also current GT3Rs running there, and we're even a little quicker than them, which was a bit surprising to me. And so the car works pretty well. I'm really enjoying it.
I'm sure, well, at least one of our best memories is, of course, the Corvette and the RSR. Last 2 laps here in Laguna Seca. No one's watched it. All you have to do is YouTube it, and you'll see it. Which I believe Jörg won that little battle.
Yeah, someone didn't quite finish, or not in the way he was supposed to at least. Yeah, it was very intense, and hopefully it will be a bit cleaner today.
The Corvette got in the way. So that's a great race that you just have to YouTube Jörg Bergmeister Laguna Seca, and you'll find that little clip. So Patrick, you're in a suit. You're obviously that's not your tractor racing suit. So what are you out there driving today?
Earl Bamber was just in the hospitality and he asked me how many racing suits I brought this weekend, and I told him technically I brought 2, but right now I've got 4 because I had a couple handed to me. So the suit that I'm wearing is says Bayside Disposal on it. Bruce Levin, big Porsche guy and a long-time racer in the 962, 956, 935 days. Hurley Haywood drove with him. Lots of factory drivers. He was very kind to me as kind of a young ankle biter at Rennsport, Daytona Rennsport, the second Daytona Rennsport, and he let me drive his 956. And so he passed this year, and as a tribute to him, we did this suit. And so his name is on my belt, and then where his name was on his race suit, they put my name. So it's fun to celebrate Rennsport and to be in theme. This suit correlates with the 962-001, which we just drove in the parade laps. It's the all-white Andretti 1984 Rolex Daytona winner. I don't want to bore you with the list of cars that I've been in this weekend, but let's just say this is easily the most memorable race weekend of my career.
I remember at one of the Rennsports, I saw you in passing and you said your goal was to drive as many cars you could possibly do that weekend. And I thought that was really cool that not only a driver, but a true enthusiast who wanted to get into the seat of every car you could. And so at the time when you drove that, was it the Miller car that you drove over? Yeah, the Miller car at Daytona. That was the first time you were driving the 962?
Yeah, that was a sister car to the Al Holbert Lowenbrow car. It had also run as a Miller High Life car, the gold and white, which the livery was that year at Daytona. But Bruce Levin's car was the Bayside Disposal car. It was a second Group C or GTP era car that I drove that weekend. But yeah, in 2011 at Rennsport 4, the goal was to drive as many cars as possible, and I eclipsed that in one day yesterday. So the new criteria is to try to drive stuff that's period correct, historically significant, and well prepped, because I have kids now, so I think a little bit more about safety, because Jörg taught me early. We were in Watkins Glen testing in about 2009, and there was an off-ramp in Ithaca, and we were in a Lincoln Town Car, rental car, and I tried to take it flat. And as I turned in, he screamed at me, "I have kids!" And now I understand what he meant. Start thinking about how you got to survive. It's more than, it's not just about you, and that is really the truth, though. It's great to celebrate these cars and to race them hard, but you do have to keep in the back of your mind that the technology is not what it is today. Some of the drivers are older than the cars, and there's a lot of different factors out there. So we really want to do justice to the cars and celebrate them. And yeah, it's been fun. I even went out in the R group tourist laps yesterday, so tried to hit a lot of sessions. Another tractor race today, and then I'll also sample the Sunoco 91730, Mark Donahue's car. So that will be the highlight for today if all goes well. Rob Kaufman, who's part owner of Ganassi Racing, is a huge Porsche collector, and he asked me yesterday as I got out of a different 91730 from Mr. Bruce Canepa if I was interested in driving Mark Donahue's car, and I said, yes, sir.
So Jörg, have you, obviously, are you matching this list of cars to drive this weekend?
Not even close, no. I was actually looking really forward to driving the R60 yesterday, but then there was a last-minute change. I had to guide Dr. Porsche around in the 911T, which was also fun. Yeah, I sat shortly in 001, but didn't get to drive it, but it was still a cool experience.
So you're one of the more senior drivers in the factory, but I can see that the younger drivers seem to really respect you by simply wanting to wait and watch you race. Do you find yourself really the mentor for the younger drivers?
Most of the guys already do know what they are doing, otherwise they wouldn't be factory drivers, so sometimes they listen or sometimes they don't care.
So, what's your impression of Rennsport? You've been to them before. They seem to get bigger and better every year. This time it was 4 days, and even I hear people saying they wish it was 5. It's never enough. There's never enough time to see everything.
Yeah, definitely. It's just crazy. It's such a cool event, and so great to see all those cars still on track and being driven hard. It's where they belong, and I think that stands for Porsche and the owners of the cars, that they want the cars on the racetrack.
And when we were watching you in the flock group, it didn't look like you were short shifting at all or trying to save the engine. It looked like I saw the list of drivers, and I thought there's no one here that's going to just take it easy. It seemed like everyone was out to prove something, and it was a fun race to watch.
Yeah, definitely on the start. I think the first 5 cars went off in turn 10 on oil, so that made for an interesting start, yeah.
Do you find that a challenge, Patrick, that as a racer, you're a racer, and we talked to the different drivers who weren't even racing anything this weekend, and they said they'd be afraid if they got in the car that they would not be able to put that limiter, that competitiveness would come out.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been to the indoor go-kart track or been on the road, and you're nice and calm while you're by yourself, but then your buddy comes up next to you and revs the engine, and it flips a switch, and that's the switch you can't let flip this weekend.
Not true.
It's like, unless it's Jörg and Kevin in the 2 Falcon cars, watch that space this afternoon.
He's lying, because in the first session in the 935 he said, "Oh, I'm only 4, so I have to push harder."
Yeah, but I kept that switch off. So yeah, I mean, you push and you try to do these cars justice, but you leave it always a 10th of reserve. Of course, that doesn't eliminate every scenario, but yeah, it really is. You have to temper that ambition to show off and win. And in the drivers' meeting, we used a Derek Bell quote that says, "You can't win the race in the first corner, but you can sure lose it." And then the other part came from David Donahue. He said, "Tell me who won Group 3 last year at Rennsport," and nobody raised their hand. Or last Rennsport, no one raised their hand. And he said, "Exactly. So even though you think you need to win this weekend, it doesn't matter. So keep it in perspective."
So shifting gears a little bit, there's a little car show that you started. That's I remember when it was just like a few. It was a first-time thing you did, and now it's a whole phenomenon that's gone international. Is that something you envisioned when you first started it? That it's just, I see the Lufterkult stickers on all the cars and merchandise. You must be really proud to see how much it's grown.
Yeah, those stickers are unlicensed, so if you see a guy, let me know. No. Many of you have heard that the initial idea was to just throw a sort of 10 a.m. Cars and Coffee in West LA, in Venice Beach, California, at some friends' sort of cafe racer motorcycle coffee shop. And the reason was, well, we all want to throw our own parties, but I just wanted to have 45 air-cooled Porsche examples, very diverse, and walk people around who have no idea about Porsche's history, don't know where to buy a car or what the difference between 959 and RS60 means, because when they listen to Porsche people talk, it sounds like we're all a bunch of robots talking in numbers. And so the idea is my wife's friends come out and bring their dogs, bring their families, have some tacos and a Corona, and just celebrate these cars. And instantly the energy shifted to just a festive spirit, and there was a lot of diverse architecture, and that just stemmed and sort of grew, and now we're just trying to keep up with the demand. This year we were honored to fill 18 acres of cars in Southern California at Ganal Lumber. A lot of people said, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard, to have a car show at a lumber yard. And I said, well, you don't have to come. It's at capacity, so just send your ticket back, and there's plenty of people who will take it. And naturally afterwards, they all got it, and we had a lot of fun. And then we took our first venture to the UK. We went to Bicester Heritage, which is an amazing facility just north of Oxfordshire. And it was raining, of course, typical English. Everybody had a cup of tea, and the level of car that came there, we really try to crossbreed the be-all, end-all of race cars from that local market, and then the jalopy rusted out 912 and everything in between. Everybody with an air-cooled Porsche is welcome, and the level of car in England blew me away. For such a small country, they had an amazing, amazing spirit of cars. And then we just did Munich a couple weeks ago, very urban setting, graffiti, and right smack in the middle of Munich, where you could kind of just stumble upon it on a Sunday morning. And we had 4,500 people turn out with only 3 weeks notice. So we put the note up to our email subscribers, and then 3 weeks, the Germans came loud and proud. Their cars were very hot rod, very outlaw, and it was a lot of fun. There were some original stuff and some great race cars, but the overriding theme was very much modified sports purpose cars, and that really surprised us. It was a lot of fun.
I would ask you when the next one is and where, but I think part of your the fun is that you hold off telling people where it's going to be and when for a certain period, and then you make the big announcement. So I guess people ahead of time would probably find parking spaces or try to find parking. I know people, I see on Rentless where they Google map the entire area once you've announced to figure out where the display is going to be, where parking is going to be. It's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, we don't try to keep people in the dark. We realize that travel, we never envisioned this being more than a Southern California event, and we never thought that we would have 24 countries and 48 of 50 states in attendance at the last show. So we realize travel is expensive, but part of it is we have to, as you know, and many of you know, producing an event with 10,000 people, you have to have all the permits, and we move the venue. So it's really a lot of paperwork to get everything laid out as we continue to move cities. We know the Chamber of Commerce really well. We know all the inspectors really well, and it takes a little bit of time. And then the other part of it is the local police department gets to know us very well, because we sort of shut traffic down, not by design, but just through the backup of sheer excitement. And so we have to control a little bit of the news blasts, or we would really become a place of being shut down by the police. So we'll try to get some news out about a city and a date as early as possible, and then we'll leave the rest to a little bit of mystery, so at least the travel can be booked.
So since you became a family man, did you have to give up any Porsches, or what's in the stable right now?
Yes, I did need to give up some Porsches, but I haven't got there yet. I'm working on it. I keep telling Lauren, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I can't let this one go because it was a Vasek Polak car, and and I worked on it, so we can't let that one go. And this one's Glacier Blue, and that color was really rare in '72. And she's just like, "You're a crazy cat lady." That's all it is. You have 15 cats, and you try to justify every single one of them because But recent acquisitions, I have two over at the R Group tent. One is a Glacier Blue 72 hot rod. It has a 3.3 short stroke in it. It's 2,100 pounds. What does that all mean? It's just hard to keep on the road. And I love 912s. I have a 66 3-gauge 912. It's originally a slate gray car. Right now it has really thick, bad Irish green paint on it, and I love it because my son runs his bike into the side of it and I don't even notice, so that's the way to keep it.
So what do you have in your garage?
Not enough time. No, actually my brother has a couple, which I get to enjoy as well. He has a 78 Targa in mint green and a 993 Turbo S. Not the original one, but almost like, so that's a fun one.
Very good. And do you, I guess Porsche gives you a company car? What kind of company cars do you drive?
At the moment, a Panamera Turbo S, and I'm waiting on the GT3 RS.
What about you, Patrick?
A little variety.
Sport Turismo Turbo. I'm really excited about the new Panamera, and being a family man, I got to have that lift gate in the back to get the strollers in and the diaper bags, and we're the Griswolds when we pull the stuff out of the car. Just Christmas trees and all kinds of crap coming out of the back.
So you guys had the chance to drive do a Taycan?
Not yet, no.
Nope.
But you've driven, obviously you were involved with the hybrid RSR. You've driven the 918. Is this something that excites you with the electric coming out?
Yeah, definitely hope that I get to drive it soon. The guys that drove it already were really surprised and saying it's actually a lot of fun. Obviously something different with not as much noise, but they're saying it really drives like a Porsche, and I look forward to the first time I'm sitting in it.
Yeah, I think electrification is coming. The great part about it is it's so linear. When you step on the gas, the power comes right here and right now. That was a lot of the parallel of the GT3R hybrid that you referenced, that Jörg did a lot of work on, and I had the honor of driving at the Nürburgring 24, as well as we shared the car in China 2010 in Zhuhai. So that car was a lot of fun, and I think that car's here this weekend. Basically the way that car works is it had a combustion engine driving the rear wheels, and it had an electric engine driving the front wheels. So when you were on electric, you had all-wheel drive, active all-wheel drive, and another couple hundred horsepower. And the way we stored the energy on that car was in a flywheel. And the flywheel was in this thick cast metal case in the passenger seat. And it had a polycarbon blade spinning around inside of it at 40,000 revolutions per minute. So when the charge was stored in the flywheel, you could hear it humming next to you. And the number one question that all the fans asked is, what happens in an incident when the fan comes loose? And I was like, what do you think's gonna happen? I don't need to answer that. So yeah, it's great, that program. We've now gone to batteries, much safer than spinning helicopter blades in the passenger seat. But yeah, everything that's coming down the wire, I think that we're going to have a lot of competition for that other electric company from California as far as a four-door sedan goes, and I'm really excited about that.
I don't think there'll be competition. I know I'm a fan of the Mark, but I think once they drive the Taycan, that and as the Porsche executives told me one time, we're in the business of making money, not giving it away. So I think it'll be a successful brand for the company, and obviously the excitement. They were worried that the PCA members would knock the electric, but everywhere you've gone, that's the question that we get most, or the executives get asked most, is about the Taycan and the electric. Because Porsche is all about technology in the future, and that's right now what we're looking at is electric cars, and then Formula E, I guess, is the next racing they're going to take on. Is that something that you guys ever tried, the electric Formula E?
No, I haven't, but I follow it. It's really interesting because they drop you right into an urban city in very tight confines, and of course you have that really good torque and bottom end, so the cars can really accelerate. They run on a DOT street tire, so there's not a lot of grip, and it makes for huge braking zones because the cars are a little heavier. So the racing is really, really excellent, and I think it tells a story of street to track transfer of technology. It was really interesting when we worked on the GT3R hybrid. A lot of the hybrid management and engineers, you would see them in Weissach when we'd go to visit, and they were working on the 918 car. So a lot of the technology that's learned on the racetrack, those very same engineers are literally developing the street cars. And so it makes a lot of sense that we're doing both in parallel. It's not just marketing. I like the technical side as well, and yeah, it'll be exciting to watch. I think Jörg and I will be in combustion engines for the next little while, but we'll see what the future holds.
All right, well, let's open it up for a few minutes of question and answer before we let you guys go. I think this gentleman here had his arm raised.
Jörg and Patrick, all the cars here, what would you prefer to drive?
My personal favorite is a Carrera GT. Just the sound is so amazing when you turn that thing on. It's definitely on my bucket list if the prices drop a bit.
I realized the goal yesterday in driving the 1990 Porsche IndyCar. It's the Foster's Quaker State car. Taking that car around for its paces. I grew up watching kart and IndyCar as a kid, and that was 1990. I was 8 years old, and don't laugh. And I go to Long Beach and watch these guys race in a turbocharged IndyCar, and to me, that was more impactful than even Formula One, because I only watched Formula One on TV. In the late 80s, early 90s, and to get in and drive a V8 turbo IndyCar. A lot of the original engineers were here that worked in Weissach during that program with Walker Racing, started with Holbert, and yeah, pretty emotional going up into the corkscrew in IndyCar.
Who drove that car that you were piloting yesterday at IndyCar?
That was Teo Fabi's car from 1990. It was him and John Andretti in the program that year. That was the final year of the Porsche IndyCar road. It was a turbulent program, but they won it in Mid-Ohio. The IndyCar program started here in '87, if I'm not mistaken, and it ended here in 1990. So it was pretty ceremonious that all those guys flew in to run the car. They plugged the old Bosch computer into start the thing, and it looks like one of my 3-year-old son's toys, and it prints out a receipt at the end when they download it. I'll show you a picture. It's literally like a credit card receipt, and on that are all the details, the boost numbers, the RPM numbers. It's data acquisition in 1990. It's pretty impressive. I mean, no one's looking at computer screens. They got these like toy laptops that they plug into, but runs on methanol, 750 turbocharged horsepower. You got to plug the starter into the back, so you don't want to stall it because you're going to be stranded wherever you're at. But yeah, that was for a SoCal kid to drive a Porsche Indy car is probably the one car I wanted to drive.
And that was a car that I heard the Mark Shevitz talking to that Al Holbert passed away just on this day today many years ago, and he was the person who spearheaded the IndyCar project. So I think when he passed away, the IndyCar project kind of died at the same time. But it was at least for Porsche fans back then. I remember it was one of the first few races I saw because Porsche was in IndyCar. That was what drove me to drive up to Poconos to watch the race, or Nazareth back then to watch the race.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. So the Falcon cars that Kevin Estre and Jörg are driving were run by Derek Walker, who of course is very famous for Indianapolis, but he had a Porsche past. He ran the IndyCar program after Al passed away. But I had coffee with Derek, and I'm not sure this is a public story to share. I don't see any cell phones, but he told me, Derek, I'm sorry. He told me over coffee this Christmas that he was hired by Al Holbert away from Penske Racing, who was, of course, setting the pace in IndyCar. And he was brought on to work under Al Holbert's organization to really boost this IndyCar effort that was, it was going to be a tall challenge. And before Derek was announced to join that weekend at Mid-Ohio, Al was leaving Mid-Ohio in a private aircraft and unfortunately passed away. And so it was fitting that the program transitioned to Derek Walker's organization, but I get a question often that's what 3 gentlemen would you like to have a coffee with? And I think Al Holbert, Bob Wallach, and Mark Donohue would be my three answers. And yeah, Al Holbert's a very much an inspiration. Obviously, Porsche Motorsport North America started with Al. Such a driver, and here was a hell of a businessman as well.
Yeah, somebody asked me something similar, and I said I would have loved to have met Bob Carlson, the father of Rennsport, because I got involved with PCA National and with Porsche right after he passed away. So for me, it would have been to meet someone who created an event like this that is just what a legacy.
An amazing guy. He was the person who gave me my opportunity at Porsche. He was the first and only one that had to sign off. He came over to Europe and we shared a van driving from Stuttgart to Leipzig in the former East Germany. But anyways, if you hadn't met Bob Carlson, head of PR for Porsche Cars North America, Rennsport was his baby. It was his child. And when you pulled into Victory Lane, he met you there and shook your hand and shook every winner's hand. And he wore his old Porsche jacket. He was all about the heritage, and yeah, just an amazing man, and his spirit is bright at this weekend.
That's great. So let's have a big round of applause for the dynamic duo. We really appreciate you taking some time out and stopping by. Jörg, we hope to see you more often. We are always welcome. Patrick is an old friend and a PCA member, and we love him. Thank you, guys.